promise to you, you will leave in 1.5 hours with something that you've learned, somebody that you have met, and something tangible that you can take away. Leadership and resilience, why is it that some people withstand and grow when confronted with hardships, and why do other people suffer? Is that a nature thing? Or can you learn this? And how can you learn that? And what kind of research has been done around that? And the reason I bring this is because in the world that we live in, it is more and more important for leaders that people trust them, right? If you think about, we live in a world where everything changes quicker and quicker and quicker. We're talking about agility, we're talking about disruption and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, there's humans, and humans will trust, will follow people that they trust, right? And and that means for a leader, if I want people to trust me, I need to be able to manage myself, right? If I'm not managing myself, if I'm just losing it from time to time, for example, it is very, very easy for people to not trust me. I've been in leadership roles for many, many years, and for many years, the way I saw the world was from the inside of a plane, 8 flights a week, traveling the world, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. Early 30s, mid 30s, 2 baby girls born, executive MBA. I was on a mission. Okay, and what do you do if you have a career like that? You need something as a balance, and to balance yourself, what you do is you do an Ironman, right? So an Ironman, if you don't do this every day, this is like 3.8 kilometers of swimming, 180 kilometers of biking, and then a marathon just to chill out. Okay? And my self-image at that time was like, wow, I mean, I'm really cool material, right? I have it fully under control. I'm on a mission. I'm on a trajectory to board level. And then one fine day, something very interesting happened. I woke up and I had lost a large degree of my hearing. Okay? And even though that might sound funny now, it wasn't quite so funny then. And it was a situation where you think you have things under control, and you find out you don't. And then you go to the doctors, and instead of telling you, this is your milestone plan for getting back to health, they tell you, well, come back next week, come back next week, come back next week. And that took 6 weeks, and you never know if it is going back or not. I was lucky, and it all came back, but it was a total loss of control. It was a feeling of losing control, and for the first time in my life, I could not solve a problem by working harder and sleeping less. How much can I take on? That's the one thing. I mean, am I tough enough for this? Am I actually wanting to do this? What is driving me? What's my driver? Who says I need to do a career? Who says I need to be board level? Is that my agenda? Is it because I think it is purposeful? Or is this an agenda that I kind of picked up along the way without really reflecting about it? So resilience means to bounce back, really to recover, and it has to do with elasticity. So the term originally comes from material science, and it describes the ability of a physical object to elastically absorb an impact from the outside. So this is a building in Asia, and it's called Taipei 101, you probably know it. What's the problem when you are in Asia or in Taiwan, when you are a skyscraper?
Storms.
Earthquakes, exactly, right? This building was the highest building in the world in 2009. It is 0.5 kilometer high. Everything around it are also skyscrapers, okay? Now, in Taiwan, does anybody know how many earthquakes there are in Taiwan a year? How many? A lot or? Lots, yes, lots. About 70 across 3 or 4 on the Richter scale. That will be in the news every single time here, okay? Now, you think of, this is a 0.5 kilometer high building, 70 earthquakes a year. How does that thing survive? There's a pendulum mounted between the 86th and the 92nd floor. It's the 600-ton pendulum, looking like that. And what it does is, when an earthquake hits the structure, this pendulum goes into counter motion to counterbalance the shock waves of the earthquake. On the one hand side, it's hit. On the second side, this is an active component because the pendulum is put into motion by a computer. at the end, right? So it's an active thing to counterbalance these shock waves. Now there's one important thing that I learned is that resilience can be very easily confused with something else. So this was another, as you have found out by now, I like visuals. This was another visual. So this is a beacon in the French Atlantic coast, and what you can see is it's the good old days because there's a watchman, right? So it was not digitalized yet. And this gentleman there is waiting, and it seems like a bit of a heavy weather out there, right? And he's not waiting there because he was bored, he was waiting there because he was waiting to be rescued, actually. Jean Guichard, who is a photographer who does pictures of beacons for a living. You have to have a purpose in life. He does beacons. What this gentleman did not see is that behind him, the mother of all waves was approaching, totally erasing the place where he was standing. In the last second, he jumped in, everything is fine, the guys met, it's a very nice story. My point here is, if resilience is confused with trying to be hard, then there's only a question of time if something is harder than yourself. Yes, somehow I'm feeling ambiguous, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling stressed, but I don't show. I just press that under the surface because I can just go on, right? I think one key takeaway is that resilience and hardiness is not the same thing, and there's one key difference. That self-discipline plays an important role in resilience. Why is that? Because it is not enough to know good things. It is not enough to read good books or attend great workshops. The key thing is do the things that are good for you. How am I? What do I need? What are my needs that I need to fulfill, right? And that gives us 4 quadrants. If you are high on self-control and discipline, which many managers are, and I bet you are too, that's great. If you're not feeling how you are, or if you don't care how you are, what you get is hardiness, right? That means I just go on. I just keep on going. I just keep on doing things. And that results in situations where the CEO of BMW last year at the German Motor Show was standing in front of the press presenting the new luxury Rolls-Royce and collapsed in front of the cameras, because he was just being hardy. He had an infection, had traveled around the world, did this thing, and right after the stock price dropped by 30%. The other thing is having a low level of self-control and discipline and not being reflective. That's what I call derailed, meaning that I'm not in control of myself. I don't have effective self-management strategies. Well, this is a bit us, right? This is a bit normal people. We know what's good for us, don't we? We know we shouldn't drink too much. We know we should not smoke. We know we should sleep enough. We should exercise. We should eat healthy. We all know that, right? Do we always do that? I bet you do. I don't. So, so what resilience means is actually developing a practice to get from here to there, right? And that is done by doing the right things, and we will come to that. There's one thing that struck me. The largest resilience program in the world is done by an organization that was not necessarily first place on my radar screen. It has an annual budget of 140 million. Any idea which organization could have an interest in making their people more resilient to cope with life out there? It is not the Catholic Church. Hospitals?
Made sense on Frontier.
Oh, that would be a good one, but 140 million, it's a lot of money, yeah? Yeah, okay. It is the US Army, yeah? The US Army has a big problem, well, there's many problems, but there's a big problem. In 2013, for the first time, more soldiers died by suicide than by hostile fire. What they said is, we need to put something in place to support our people to go through these difficult times, being separated from their families, but also being anxious about what's happening next when I'm getting my next round of, being placed into, any desert country where, people are killed. How do I go about that? And they put a program in place that's called Comprehensive Soldier Fitness, meaning you have emotional, cognitive, social, family, but also physical fitness things together. You have some sort of performance that we have, right? Like a daily performance. And we are around the status quo of this is how we're naturally doing. It's different on Mondays than on Fridays, right? It's moving along throughout the week. And then something happens. Let's call this a crisis. What would be a crisis in military terms? War, or something smaller like an ambush or hostile fire. One of my people is hurt. Maybe I should have done something different. I'm not quite sure if I did give the right orders. What would be a crisis in business world?
Losing your own customer, or
yeah, losing a customer,
major one.
Right? Having a conflict, getting fired, being restructured, being outsourced, right? All these good things. What happens when I have that? My cognitive energy is busy with managing my emotions. Yeah? So instead of focusing my energy to the outside world to fix the problem, my energy partially goes into inward and tries to manage my emotions, try to get my amygdala under control, because there's all sorts of things going on there, right? And we have been researching what do managers feel when they are there, okay? We have been interviewing 218 international managers. How do you feel when you're there? And this is what they said. I feel as a victim, right? I cannot do anything. I feel my hands are tied, I talk too much. Fear, insomnia, sleeplessness. We asked them for critical career events. We didn't ask them for something minor, right? Like there's no pasta anymore in the fridge or something. This was about you're being fired or something like that, right? Insomnia, depression, focus on being busy. So try to do something that you can do just to feel that you're still there and that you have something under control. Increased excitability. So somebody that was a calm person all of a sudden blew off and you know, that was not his or her natural tendency to behave. Social withdrawal, trying to avoiding situations where people ask you, how are you? Because you really don't want to answer that. So this is where they are. And now there's three things that can happen from there. The first one is you stay there permanently, which is a permanent damage, right? So that means military context, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety disorder, substance abuse. One third of all US Army soldiers that come back are permanently damaged. And in the business world, depression, anxiety disorder, burnout, it's pretty similar. The other way is to come back up, to recover, right? And the question is how quickly do you do that, but to come back up on the old level. And the next one is something that is very interesting because it is considered a rare thing or a counterintuitive thing. Actually, because you've gone through that, you grow. This is called in literature also post-traumatic growth. Okay? May I ask who of you has kids? Okay, good. Now, your kids go through all kinds of diseases along the way, right? They have fever, they cough, they have all kinds of things on the skin, they suffer, okay? And sometimes that takes many, many weeks, and then afterwards you compare your kid to the time before, and some people report that, boy, my child has not only grown by 4 weeks or aged by 4 weeks, they have made a step change. They have kind of overcome the crisis because they have kind of processed it in a way that I can actually do that. I can go through that. And next time I'm better off. Or in a business world, if you've been reorganized once and you had to apply for your own role, and for 3/4 of a year the company pretty much was not doing anything, and that happens to you the next time, if you have processed it the right way, this will be less scary for you. Coping is referred to as all the strategies that people have developed in order to come back up. What is it that works? And we will talk a little bit about what that is. And again, we have asked managers, so how do you do that? Okay, I've been there, that's fine. Now I want to go back up. So what is positive? What can I learn from that? For many people, it is important that they have trusted people around them, critical conversations, choosing different perspectives. What are my values? Sports, working with a professional coach or something like that. Sometimes when I work with companies and we talk about who's there and who's in the room and who's not in the room, oh, Mr. Miller, no, he can't make it, he is off sick, he has burnout. But it's not because of the job. Okay, why is that? Well, he has problems at home, right? Okay, good. Now there's a bit of truth there, but it is also a bit too easy. The point is that our life is comprised out of many different segments that interact with each other, right? We don't go to work, put a locker up, put our emotions in, close the locker, and then be the rational thinking person at the desk before we go back home. We all carry this stuff with us. Some segments of our lives gives us energy. Others may take energy. So what is going on in people's lives? What is it that they have? Point is, what makes people resilient? What's this pendulum for humans? How can that be used in order to work with the challenge of this inventory of life that we have? The traditional belief was, if somebody has a challenge in life, it is because of something went wrong in childhood. All postal cars are yellow, but not all yellow cars are postal cars, right? So if I only look at people who have a problem in life, will I find the real reason, or do I need to change the approach? And she said, well, we have the wrong approach. We need to find a population, and we need to follow this population over a prolonged period of time. That's called a longitudinal study, in order to find out what makes people resilient. She found out certain things that those that went through tough times, grew up in tough families, and still thrived in life, had in common. Now, I'm asking you, with your life experience, what do you think are factors that people that go through hard times have in common? What comes to mind?
Ambition.
Ambition, okay. Perspective, okay. Don't stop trying, never give up kind of thing, okay. Gratefulness. What a trick. What a fox. Positive relationships. These people, for them it was easy to entertain positive relationships to people. They were sociable in a degree. They were looking actively for role models. In many cases, their parents were not a good idea to be a role model, or they were just not there. And they were actually adopting people to be their mentors, their role models. They were reaching out for them. And by the way, it was important that it was same gender role models. They had developed a capability to open up and speak about their emotions. And that gave them access to resources. They had the feeling that they could influence the way they feel by doing something about it, so that developed that they are not helpless. Another thing is they had in common is that they developed an accurate self-image, so a pretty good reflection upon this is where I stand in life, this is the society I'm part of, and I'm pretty accurate about it, and hence I can probably be something like that in life. This is what I can aim for, and most probably I'll find something that I can reach. Realistic optimism was another dimension, which means that I am optimistic, but I know I will have hardships along the way. I have plan A, I have plan B, and then I will improvise. I'll find a way, but in generally I'm confident enough. And then a funny term, self-efficacy. Can somebody help explain the term?
Self-confidence.
Say it again?
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence, yeah. It's a bit of being the master of your own destiny, that kind of thing, right? To have a conviction that I can influence. Locus of control, exactly. So an internal locus of control or an external locus of control. So where is the place where my destiny is kind of created? Viktor Frankl said, the one thing that gets you through tough times is purpose. Today we know that this is not necessarily the case. 35% of the Western European population do not see a purpose in life and don't suffer from that. So no problem. So you don't need a purpose in life, but to have one is a good thing. Another person was Aaron Antonovsky, and he worked with women, one part of women who had gone through concentration camps, others who had not. And he was struck by the fact that the difference in psychological health was minimal. And he was wondering, how can that be? You go through this traumatic period and you're still healthy. And he found out something that he called generalized resistance resources, which means they were able to adapt to the environment, okay, even if it was very hostile and not meaningful at all, and they were feeling that they're belonging to a community. And we've built something around that that's called the 7 spheres of resilience that integrates all the different research that is out there. The personality is what we say is what 50% genetic, 50% the first 7-8 years of our lives. This is where personality is built. Biography. That's interesting, right? Why does biography play a role in mastering hard times? Why do you think that is? So it's really, if you look at it, it's really three things that we have in our biography. We have things that went well. That's cool, because they went well. We have things that didn't go well, and we mastered them. So it's a resource in terms of a mastered crisis. And we learned a heck of a lot of things along the way, right? So we are full of resources if we look at our biography. Now the thing is, we typically don't see our biography as a resource. It's just there and it has happened and I cannot change that, which is not true. Modern neuroscience tells us you can change the way how you look at your biography. Attitude. This is the way how we deal with things. So the question is, how do I get myself into such a good attitude, into a constructive attitude? How do I get myself out of victim mode? That's the key thing. If you're in a moment or in a state of gratefulness or gratitude, to complain or to go into victim mode is actually a hard thing. Yeah? Because it is kind of difficult to be for being a victim and being grateful to be in the same body at the same time, right? So that's a good thing because we can practice that. What I recommend you to do, if you want to, practice this on a daily basis over 8 weeks, and I guarantee you it will have an impact on your life. So the acid test is, when you're trying to do that, and you're not finding anything, there's 3 options. Either you just woke up, or you're really having a shitty life, or you maybe are in victim mode. And then you can ask yourself the question, do I want to be in victim mode? Because leaving victim mode essentially starts with a decision. And I've been in victim mode for many months, and I've many stories to tell. I even wrote a book in victim mode, and the unfortunate thing is it's selling well. So resources, this is like the toolkit. This is like, how do we get stress out of our system? If you are upset or something and you don't want to reach home creating, World War III, how do you get that stress out of your system? What's your tricks? So negative stress in the sense of angry, right?
Okay. Well,
do you go home with positive stress and you want to reduce your happiness? So you're rationalizing it.
Yeah.
That's another strategy. Rationalizing is another strategy, and it works for different people or different personalities. The only trick is to do them. That's the only trick. You don't need a workshop for that. Just find out what's good for you and make sure that in your Outlook calendar, because otherwise it is not coming into life. Mind-body axis. So what is it that you're doing for your body? And I'm not just talking sports. Sports is a great thing as long as you don't get your performance management system out on the running track, right? As long as you do that to have a counterbalance and not just show off how great you are and how fast you are and how competitive you are. Authentic relationships. We live in a world where it is very, very easy to lose these relationships because we don't nurture them, we don't make time for them. We're so busy. And if we're not planning for them, they just don't take place. And the higher you climb in the hierarchy, the more difficult it is to find people along the way, because you're never sure, do they talk to me or do they listen to me because they like me or they want me to grow, or because they want a raise or a favor or something like that, right? Do they say, yes, boss, that's a great idea, boss. Is that authentic or not? And purpose being the last one, finding an answer to the question of why. So Frankl said, when you have an answer to the why, you can stand almost any how. So what is your why? What is your true north? What is it that you're aiming for? What's the difference you're trying to make in your life? Now, how does this all fit together? Assuming there's a lake and a seabed and then there's a sailboat. So far, so good. Assuming the keel was the personality. It's our edges, something that makes us special, where we have our, different things that are characteristic of us. Furthermore, think that our biography is the seabed. This is what happened to us, our past. Maybe some things that we didn't personally like too much, and but they are still around somewhere there in the basement. And then we have something that we call a stressor, which is a weight that's put on the boat, so the boat goes deeper into the water, meaning that keel and the seabed, maybe they hit each other every now and then when something reminds us of something in the past, and we don't even know what's going on there. Then there is something that is called a dysfunctional belief. So a dysfunctional belief is something that we've picked up when we were kids, and it works like, if I'm not good enough, I will not be loved. Or if I'm not smart enough, I will not be loved. And if you hear a voice in your head saying, what is this man talking about? That's the dysfunctional belief, right? So this is that stuff that is our enemy from within. When something goes wrong, that's the voice saying, you should have prepared better. It's your fault. You should have anticipated that. You should have done more or something different, right? And this is a hole in the boat, so the water gets in, so the boat gets even deeper into the water. Luckily, we have resources. So resources is all the stuff that we can do to get the water out of the boat so that we can lift it up, like, you know, sports, running, singing, music, people. That's our body. Without our body, we don't do much. This is the only way to transport the energy from the purpose, from why are we doing this, into being. Relationships kind of carry us through the entire thing, so they carry us. And then there is another element that we did not talk about tonight, which is the resilience field, which is the field in which we live, the corporate climate, the culture. This can be a positive one, where Monday morning you think, thank God, weekend is over, I can go back to work with the greatest colleagues, the greatest clients. Or is it Monday morning and you think, gosh, Friday is so far away. What's the environment that you're in? That obviously also plays a role. Resilience, it's what's left. It's a balance of all the different factors interacting with each other. Challenge your thinking traps. Whenever you're in victim mode, there will be a thinking trap going like, why is it always raining on me? Why me? I mean, why always me? And maybe look around and see if there's evidence for that. Maybe others are getting wet too. Gerald Hüther, a famous German neuroscientist, coined the term, from the inside, a hamster wheel looks just like a career ladder. Think about it. So do the things for the right reasons. If you're it's a totally different thing if you're executing a belief that you should be something because somebody believed you should be something, or if you're doing it because you see a purpose in it. That's a totally different things. There are totally different things, even though you might be doing the very same thing. It's a totally different reason for that. Now, if all of that does not help, okay? So, this is the Oort's cloud, okay? In the Oort's cloud, there's a solar system. In this, I think it's the 5th planet. On that, there's a continent, a country, a nice place, a group of people, organic structures in a room thinking about resilience. Now, if you take that perspective for a second, what is really worth worrying? I mean, really, yeah? I mean, so what I'm trying to say here is work with perspectives. Put things in a different perspective, right? From that perspective, it's pointless, right? And how can I play with perspectives in order to manage myself? What is really important here? Is it worth worrying that much? How do I charge my batteries? What are the non-negotiables? If you're not putting it in the calendar, it is just like the New Year's goodwill thing where you're signing up for the gym. Does it help you? No. Is it helping you going to the bar at the gym, having an energy drink, watching the others doing their thing? No. If you're not doing it yourself, it will not change anything. And this is about doing it. So what is it that you can do to influence your body so that your body can influence your immune system, your cardiovascular system, the neurotransmitter level in your brains? All of that is influenced by our body very, very, very directly. And it's proven over and over by research. If all of that does not help, let me remind you that this is a guest play, okay? I'm very optimistic now. In about 100 years, nobody of us is here anymore, right? So if that is true, and it is true, we can as well look for something that makes our life matter. And if we found it, we can try to do more of it. It is very, very simple if you look at it from that way. So it is a lot about doing. It's a little bit about knowing, but it's very much around doing things. So again, leading others, if you think of leading others, if you think of leading people, 80% of our communication is non-verbal, so it starts with us being a role model and being good at self-managing ourselves. And that requires, every now and then, that you need to be different than the rest, because you know it for yourself, and that requires that you need to be bold and do the things that you think are important and not that everybody else thinks that they are important. Right? So with that, be bold, and thank you very much for your attention.